All right, so let's go over the answers to the review, all right, and how to do each of them. All right, so for number one, all right, a squared minus 40. So if you have one with a power like this, you want to get whatever's being raised that power by itself, whether it's just a variable or like number two, it's something in a parentheses. All right, so just bring over the 40, a squared equals 40. To get rid of a square, you just take the square root of both sides. Now, you just got to be careful. It's obviously a. Whenever we're doing the square root, the fourth root, the sixth root, any even root, you have to make sure we do a plus or minus. And the square root of 40 is 2 root 10. There's your answer. Plus or minus 2 square root of 10. All right. Number two. All right. So here, number one, we had a variable. Two, we have a quantity being raised to power. Same thing. We want to get that by itself. All right. So we're going to add the 8 to the other side. So it's x plus 1 squared equals 8. I'm going to take the square root of both sides. We get x plus 1 equals, do not forget about the plus or minus. Simplify the square root of 8 is 2 root 2. So I get x equals, bring over the 1, negative 1 plus or minus 2 root 2. All right, there's your answer for number 2. All right, 3. We don't have to get it by itself. It's already by itself. So we take the cube root of both sides. All right, take the cube root of both sides. And it is the cube root of negative 8. So this is y minus 3. Since it is the cube root, you do not have to do a plus or a minus. All right. But you're like, oh, wait, no, there's a negative in there. It's okay because it's an odd root. All right. What is the cube root of 8? It's 2. So the cube root of negative 8 is negative 2. And then you add 3 and you get 1. All right. If you went back and plugged it in, you would see it works. 1 minus 3 is negative 2. Negative 2 cubed is negative 8. All right. All right, 4. We got w to the negative 2/3. All right, so we are going to raise it to whatever the denominator is, which is 3. And since it's negative, we're going to raise it to a negative. We're going to raise both sides to that. So I get w squared equals 4 to this is really 1 over 4 cubed, which is 1 over 64. Take the square root of both sides. So I get w equals plus or minus because it's the square root. And it is square root of 1 is 1. The square root of 64 is 8. So w equals plus or minus 1/8. All right, for 5. Similar thing, we got negative 2/3. So once again, we're going to raise the negative third on both sides. So I get r minus 1, negative 2, whoops. Don't know how that happened. Negative 2/3 times negative 3 is 2. So that's why we get the r minus 1 squared. All right. Equals 1 to the negative third means 1 over 1 cubed, which is just 1. All right. So it's just 1. Now I'm going to take the square root of both sides. And it gives you r minus 1 equals, the square root of 1 is plus or minus 1. So r equals 1 plus or minus 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. 1 minus 1 is 0. So 2 and 0 are my answers. All right. All right. For 6, I'm going to raise this. I'm going to make that squared. All right. We're going to make that squared. All right. So 3 halves squared. And then we got negative 1 squared. All right. So I got 3 halves times 2, which is going to give you 3. So x plus 3 cubed equals 1. All right, so I'm now going to take the square root of both sides, and I get x plus 3 equals, hold on, that's a cube root, I'm sorry. It's when you don't write neat cube root. So the cube root of 1, we do not need to do plus or minus, it's just 1. All right, subtract 3, and I get x equals, oh my gosh, this is where I got a little dyslexia. Sorry, guys, it just should be x plus 2 here, and that was cubed. This should be x plus 2. Subtract 2 gives me negative 1. Sorry. I switched up. I made it, yeah. It should be x plus 2 cubed, and then you take the cube root. All right, so you got x equals negative 1. Now, since I raised both sides to the even power, I need to check my answer. So let's go back and check. Negative 1 plus 2 is 1. All right. Well, 1 to the 3 halves means the square root of 1 cubed, which gives me a positive 1. That's not a negative 1. This does not work. So there is no solution. All right? No solution for number 6. Remember, anytime you raise to an even power on both sides, you have to check. All right. You got to check to see if it works. All right. For 7. All right. We want to get this by itself. So let's bring over the 12. All right. So I get x minus 14 equals the square root of x plus 2. I'm going to square both sides to get rid of the square. So x minus 14 squared is x squared minus 28x. 14 squared is 196 equals x plus 2. All right. So when I set this equal to 0, I get x squared minus 29x plus 100. And, okay. And hopefully as you're watching this, you're like, oh, Mr. Gillern, you forgot. You told us this should be an x minus 2. Okay. So that's x minus 2, x minus 2, which means we have plus 198. Otherwise, the reason I told you to change it, otherwise it's not going to factor. Okay, and I don't want to do that to you. All right, so x squared minus 29x plus 198. This does factor to x minus 11 and x minus 18. So we get two possible answers. X equals 11 or 18. Now, since we raised both to an even power, we need to go back and check. All right, so let's do 11. 11 minus 2 is 9. 11 minus 2 is 9. Square root of 9 is 3. 3 plus 12 is not 9. That's 15. 11 does not work. All right, 18 minus 2 is 16. 18 minus 2 is 16. Square root of that is 4. 4 plus 12 is 16. That works. So x equals 18 is our answer. Okay. Why I'm doing this, I think this one's supposed to be a 4. Let me just do that now so I don't forget. Okay. All right. Once again, we only have one square root for number 8. So let's add over the x over there. So it is the square root of negative 3x minus 14 equals x plus 4 or 4 plus x. It doesn't make a difference. Okay. So we're squaring both sides. So once again, since we're squaring both sides, we're going to have to check at the end to make sure our answers are correct. So I get negative 3x minus 14 equals x squared plus 8x plus 16. Bring this over, set it equals 0. Would be x squared plus 11x plus 30, which gives me x plus 6 and x plus 5, which gives me two possible answers, negative 6 and negative 5. Now I must check them. since I squared both sides, I raised it to an even power. So negative 6 minus, negative 3 times negative 6 is 18. 18 minus 14 is 4. Square root of 4 is 2. Minus negative 6. So that is a, that does not work because that gives you a positive 8. All right. So if this was negative 2 minus negative 6, this is a double negative, that should equal 8. So negative 6 doesn't work. Negative 5. 3 times negative 5 is 15. 15 minus 14 is 1. Square root of 1 is 1. Minus negative 5. Once again, that makes it equal to 6. All right. So no solution. They both do not work. All right. They both don't work. All right. So that's why you have to go back and make sure you're careful and make sure you check. All right. All right, here we have, for number 9, we have 2 radicals on one side. So we don't want that. We want to move one to the other side. All right, so I'm going to move this one over. All right, so I'm going to put a little line here, give myself a little more room. All right, so it's going to be the square root of x minus 5 equals 5 minus the square root of x. All right, and we are going to square both sides. So that's x minus 5 when I square that. Square 5 is 25. Get 5 root x, which is going to be 10 root x. And then you square x, which is just going to be square root of x, which is just going to be x. All right. So now I want to get, I'll change colors here. I want to change this. I want to get this by itself. All right. So bring over the x's are going to end up canceling, right? If I brought this over here, that cancels. So bring the negative 25, I get negative 30 equals negative 10 root x. All right. And then I'm going to divide by negative 10 because I got to get rid of the negative 10. And I get 3 equals the square root of x. To get rid of the square root of x, I square both sides, and I get x equals 9. I get x equals 9. Now, since I square both sides to start, I need to check my answer. Square root of 9 is 3. 9 minus 5 is 4. Square root of 4 is 2. 3 plus 5 is 5. Good. There's our answer. X equals 9. All right. 10. All right. 10 is going to be similar. Okay. We're going to move this on the other side. I notice I changed this to 4. This was a mistake on the review sheet. All right. It should be a 4, not a 1. All right, so I'm going to move this over there. So it's going to be the square root of 3x equals 4 plus the square root of x minus 2. We're going to square both sides. So it's 3x equals, that's 16 plus 8 root x minus 2 plus x minus 2. All right, so we want to get this by itself. So 16 minus 2 is 14, right? So we're going to bring over the 14, and that's going to be negative 14. Bring over this x, that's 2x. So it's 2x minus 14 equals 8 root x minus 2. Okay, now I need to get rid of this 8, but if I divide by 8, they don't go to both these evenly. So what you could do is I could square both sides right now, and you could. Or I could do something to make it a little bit easier when I square both sides. What if I just divide everything by 2? All right? As long as I do everything by 2, it's fine. So if I divide everything by 2, this becomes x minus 7 equals 4 root x minus 2. Which is perfectly legal. That's a legal move. All right. So now the only reason I'm doing that is because I do need to square all of this. It just makes it so I'm not doing 2x minus 14 squared. I'm just doing x minus 7 squared, smaller numbers. If you didn't, it's not a big deal. You just got a little bigger numbers at the end. That's all. All right, so this is x squared minus 14x plus 49 equals 16 times, that is just x minus 2, which is really 16x minus 32. All right, and we set this equal to 0. I get x squared. Bring over the 16x, that's a negative 30x. Bring over the 32, 42 plus 32 is 81. All right, so that is a positive 81. So what two numbers multiply give me 81, add up to give me 30? It's not 9 and 9, it's 27 and 3. All right, so it's x minus 27 times x minus 3 equals 0. So I have two possibilities, 27 and 3. Now, once again, we square both sides. You must check your answers. All right, so plug in 27. All right, 27 times 3 is 81. The square root of 81 is 9. 27 minus 2 is 25. The square root of 25 is 5. Does 9 minus 5 equal 4? It does. So 27 works. 3. 3 times 3 is 9. Square root of 9 is 3. 3 minus 2 is 1. Square root of 1 is 1. 3 minus 1 is not equal to 4. 3 does not work. So the answer is x equals only 27. All right, last one. All right, so same thing we've been doing here, both on one side, get 1 over there. So I got the square root of 2x plus 5 equals 1 minus the square root of x plus 2. We are going to square both sides. That gives me 2x plus 5 equals 1 minus 2 root x plus 2 because we square it, plus x plus 2. All right. So we now are going to isolate this x plus 2. All right. So 1 plus 2, that is a 3. We're going to subtract the 3 over, and that's going to be a 2. I have an x. Bring that over. It's going to be an x. So I get x plus 2 equals negative 2 root x plus 2. All right. Now, you can't really divide by negative 2 here because then you get a fraction. I can't do what I did over here because there's nothing you do with x and 2. So what you're going to have to do is just square right here, which is okay. All right, square both sides. X plus 2 squared is x squared plus 4x plus 4. And then so square that, negative 2 squared is 4. All right. And then you get x plus 2. So this is really 4x plus 8 when I multiply it out. Just don't feel like rewriting everything again. That's why I say. All right, so we're going to move this over. So I get x squared. These 4x's, all right. So the 4x's are going to end up canceling each other. So I get x squared minus 4 equals 0. Because I bring this 8 over, negative 8 over. And it means x squared is equal to 4. Take the square root of both sides. X equals plus or minus 2. Now, last thing, we have to check our answers. If I check positive 2, 2 times 2 is 4. 4 plus 5 is 9. Square root of 9 is 3. 2 plus 2 is 4. Square root of that is 2. 3 plus 2 is not 1. So positive 2 does not work. Try negative 2. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. Plus 5 is 1. Square root of 1 is 1. Negative 2 plus 2 is 0. Square root of 0 is 0. 1 plus 0 is 1. So only negative 2 works. So x equals negative 2 is your answer. All right. So hope this clears up any questions you guys had on any of these. So you're going to have a little assessment on either Monday or Tuesday, depending when your class meets for the first time next week. So that's class 2 will be Monday, class 4 will be Tuesday. And it's going to be very similar, like 10 equations, just like this. All right. Nothing too crazy. All right. Hope everything's doing well. If you have any questions or concerns, please reach out to me and I will help you out as best I can. All right. If I don't talk to you guys again, have a great weekend.